Hey everyone. So I wanted to record myself and show off my Royal Knights aggro deck list. So this is the deck list that I'm currently using for my aggro build. So I was making a Royal Knights guide, but is still coming along. I feel like the first guide that I made was kind of roundabout, so I should make it more concise. And in that guide, I showcase several deck lists. Um, so Roll Knights can be really whatever you want it to be. It could be control, it could be mid range, it could be aggro, could be tempo. But this is the aggro build that I'm currently using. I really like it. It is pretty fun and really easy to get quick wins with this deck. So let's show off my Royal Knights aggro build. So of course you're playing 4 of the Kingdrasil. So with the Kingdrasils, you hatch 1. Start of your main phase, you put the top egg under it and absorb all Royal Knights in play from your battle area and put them under it. And basically, your turn effects once per turn, you get to reduce play costs of a Royal Knight by 4 plus 1 for every source under it. So right away on turn 1, you can reduce something by 4 plus 1, so 5 play cost, um, which is really nice. So if you can reduce Royal Knights, they can come out for really cheap. The drawback is that you cannot Digivolve during your turn. And of course, you suck the Royal Knights from your field under it, so they cannot really attack turn after turn unless for some effects they will remain on the field. But the Inheritables breeding area, your turn once returned. When an option card with the Royal Knight trait is placed in the battle area, gain 1 memory. So you have Royal Knight options in this deck. You can use them pretty efficiently, once per turn, pretty efficiently, or maybe 2 times a turn if you really just want to pass memory over. But this deck, of course, you run the 4 Kingdrasils, so you can actually play Royal Knights for cheap and use the option cards for cheap. And of course, the sources under Kingdrasil can be used later with BT13 Omnimon or with BT13 Gankomon, so you can recall them out. This is just a staple for Royal Knights. So I'm playing 4 copies of BT13 Magnamon. So BT13 Magnamon has blocker on it. All turns effect when this Digimon would leave the battle area, draw 1. And then you can play 1 Vmon from your hand or this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the cost. Realistically, you will not play Vmon out. You could run Vmon in your Royal Knights build. I have tried it before. If you want to play something kind of gimmicky. But it's not really worth it. Even for an aggressive build, we have a lot more aggressive pieces now, so you don't even really need the Vmon at all. But yeah, you would basically never play the Vmon. What's really important is that when this would leave play, you draw 1 card. Blocker, you draw 1 when it leaves play, which is really nice. So even mid to late game, if your opponent has deletion effects or removal effects, or even if you just want to chump block with this, this is still a really nice card to use because either way, you're going to get a card draw from this when it leaves play. Of course, turn 1 Kingdrasil. So if you can reduce by 5 play costs turn 1, you can just play this for 2 play cost. Very efficient play, especially if you are first player. So immediately you can just play out the Magnamon for 2. Next turn you get a ramp under Kingdrasil. So then all of your other Royal Knights will just cost 1 less for the duration of the game. And also, you do get the draw, which is pretty nice too. This is also what I consider to be a 4 of in Royal Knights builds. The BT13 Dynasmon. So it has on play when Digivolving, reveal top 4 cards of your deck. Add 2 cards with Lucamon in their names or the Royal Knight trait among them to the hand, trash the rest. So really, only Royal Knight cards. You don't really use any Lucamon in name cards. But basically, reveal top 4, add 2 to hand, trash the rest. Very nice. Your turn effect when you play another Digimon with Lucamon in its name or the Royal Knight trait, delete all of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So people usually get confused by this, especially my opponents, if they are not familiar with this card. This will delete all of their level 4 or lower Digimon. So for example, you could play Dynasmon out with the cost reduction from King Drasil, and then you just hard play the Magnamon. So for example, if you are at 3, and at a certain point in the game, this might just cost 0. So you can play out Dynasmon for 0, and then play out Magnamon for 7, putting your opponent at 4. This will then board wipe their level 4 or under, which is pretty nice. Or if you have Royal Knights of the Purge, you can just play Dynasmon or and then Royal Knights of the Purge to get a Digimon out, or you can Royal Knights of the Purge to get Dynasmon out, and then hard play something else out. And then not technically hard play because you can reduce, but you can get Dynasmon on field and then play something else, and then it would still board wipe, which is a pretty nice effect. Another 4 of for the deck, of course, is the BT13 Omnimon. So you don't technically need 4 of these Omnimons. I believe that the build can be run without them, but I do like them because they do have that deletion effect where on play, when digivolving, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon or play one of each Digimon with the Royal Knight trait and different names from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying the cost. When a Digimon is played by this effect, trash your Digimon in the breeding area, and all of your Digimon gain rush for the turn. So really, I use this in the deck sometimes to play out my Royal Knights and then swing with several Digimon in a turn with rush. Or, sometimes I just play it just for the deletion effect. Because in this deck, the win con is actually Omnimon X, because that card is really nice. But, sometimes you can just play a bunch of different Digimon and then rush them down. Let's talk about Omnimon X and how this card is really good. This is just a 4 of for the deck. Some people say they should only play 3. I think that 4 is just basically mandatory. It's not focusing. But 16 play costs, raid, piercing, blocker. On play, when digivolving, if Omnimon or X antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, choose one of both players' Digimon and delete all other Digimon. Then return one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of the deck. So, when you play or digivolve into this card, you don't need Omnimon or X antibody in its Digivolution cards. You only need them in the sources, so you can choose one of both players' Digimon and delete all other Digimon. But even if they are not in sources, you still get to bottom deck one of their Digimon. So even if you just play this out, it will still remove something. And then end of turn, once per turn, one of your Digimon may gain rush for the turn and attack without suspending. Usually I just give it to Omnimon X antibody. In this build, basically I always just give it to Omnimon X antibody. So you can just play this out, bottom deck one of your opponent's Digimon. End of your turn, once per turn, you can give this Digimon rush and attack without suspending. You can then either attack over their suspended Digimon if they have one, or you can attack them and then raid over their unsuspended Digimon if you want to, because you do have the piercing, so you still get to remove something else and then also check security. This card can really get rid of 2 Digimon in a turn and also attack security. It is very, very good. Even at 16 play cost, even if I play this early game and then I give my opponent 7 memory, I find that it is very worth it. Now, I have 3 of these Gankamon BT13s. It is very nice. It has blocker on play when digivolving. Without paying the cost, you may play one Digimon card with Sistermon, its name from your trash, or one Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area. This effect can't play Omnimon or Gankamon. Do note that Omnimon X antibody is not named Omnimon. So you can still use Gankamon and then play out Omnimon X antibody for even cheaper than the cost that would normally play itself out as. So this is 16 play cost, this is 13 play cost. If, for example, you use Royal Knights of the Purge to tuck Omnimon X under, you can then just play out this Gankamon to play this card for essentially 3 less than it normally would. Bring it out, use the on play, end of turn, give itself rush, attack, raid if you want to, with piercing. So it is just really nice. So this Gankamon is really nice for basically cheating out this Omnimon X antibody. If you just want that extra swing in, or if you just want some extra removal. But there are also other cards that you can cheese out with it. So I'm playing Alphamon or Yuken Ace as a 3 of in this deck. It is very nice. So there are several things that I like about this card. On play, when Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 15,000 DP until the end of their turn. Then if DNA Digivolving, trash your opponent's top security card and recovery +1 from deck. So this card is really nice in that it gives your opponent's Digimon minus 15,000 DP until the end of their turn. So for example, if you're playing against Gallantmon X Antibody, and they are a whopping 20,000 DP, and let's say that they have the War Growlmon effect active, War Growlmon X Antibody effect active, and they cannot be bounced to... Oh, no, not War of Gromon. I think it is X Antibody. But if they have that effect active, then they can't be bounced to hand or deck. So basically, they are removable by deletion or just swinging directly into it if you're really high. But realistically, they're 20,000 DP or more. You can just play this Alphamon or Yuken Ace. Minus 15,000 DP on that Gallantmon X or whatever you want to get rid of. Like even Magnamon X Antibody, they aren't affected, maybe this turn. But when they start their turn, then that's when their Digimon will notice the minus 15,000 DP debuff. So their Magnamon X can just be deleted by having 0 DP. Same thing for their Gallantmon X Antibody. If they're playing Chronicle, and then they have Digimon that are unaffected by Digimon effects, you can also play this. And then, it won't be affected on the turn that you play it, but it will be 0 DP, hopefully, when their turn starts. You can also use this against Gankamon X Antibody decks. So even if they have immunity, this basically just bypasses immunity. So this card is really nice. So even if they have immunity, then your Omnimon X Antibody cannot get rid of their card. You can't bounce some cards if they have bounce protection or Digimon protection. You can't delete them if they have bounce protection, Digimon protection. Basically, this just gets around cards with certain protections. It obviously can't work against Digimon that cannot be DP reduced, but it provides a really nice counter against cards that other cards in this deck can't really handle as easily. But yeah, minus 15,000 DP until the end of their turn is huge. What is really nice is it also has an all turns once per turn. When security stacks are removed from, gain 3 memory. So for example, if you just play this card, put your opponent at, let's say, 1 memory, maybe 2 memory. Now they can't really do anything and then attack. If they attack, then they just lose turn. Because if your security stack or your opponent's security stack is removed during any turn, you will just gain the 3. So basically, if you put them at 1 or 2, if they choose to attack, their turn will just end. Unless they, get rid of this thing and then trigger Overflow 5. But this thing can be used defensively as well. So if you choke your opponent, they can't do much at getting rid of your security. This card can also be used offensively. I will explain the combo of this card, Omnimon X, after I have gone through the rest of the deck. I'm playing 2 copies of Jesmon GX Ace. On play, when Digivolving when attacking was returned, by placing 1 Royal Knight trait card from your hand or trash as this Digimon's Bomb Digivolution card, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. So, this Alphamon or Yuken Ace is really nice. However, this is better against, a mirror For example, if you are playing against Omnimon X Antibody, that card is 16,000 DP. Jesmon GX is 16,000 DP. Alphamon or Yuken Ace is 16,000 DP. So even if you give something minus 15,000 DP, they might still live. Jesmon GX handles 16,000 DP Digimon, in that it can just delete them. It also has this really nice one attacking once per turn. This Digimon unsuspends, then for every 2 Roll Knight trait cards in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, trash your opponent's top security card. So I'm playing this only at 2, because you do need to tuck a Roll Knight card under this Digimon in order to delete something. So really, I have a bunch of ace cards in this deck. I don't want to tuck an ace under it to delete something. I also don't want to tuck a Digimon from hand under it to delete something. So I don't really want to risk more overflow than necessary. I also do not want to give up my card advantage in hand. So I'm only playing this at 2. So then when I do have Roll Knight cards in trash, it can be any Roll Knight card, even options. Then I would play this, tuck a Roll Knight card under it, and then delete something. But I'm only playing this at 2 because the risk of overflow, playing it at 3, if I, had to tuck an ace Digimon under it, or if I had to tuck a card from hand under it, I really do not want overflow more than necessary. I really don't want to give up card advantage. So I think 2 is nice. What's really nice is that you can roll Knights of the Purge this Digimon out. It does get that when attacking trigger, even when you are using Roll Knights of the Purge. So you still get to, when attacking, tuck a Roll Knight card under it to delete something, and then when attacking, unsuspend it, so you get another attack in. So, this is just pretty nice offensively as well. I'm playing 2 copies of Omnimon Ace in this build. So it is a raid with blocker Digimon on play when Digivolving. If DNA Digivolving, choose one of your opponent's Digimon, return in all of their Digimon at the same level as it to the bottom of the deck, then delete one of their Digimon. So I'm usually just playing this as a removal. I'm just playing this just for the deletion effect mainly, but it also has blocker. So if, for example, I want to remove something but also set up a blocker, this card is nice to have. I do think that Oryuken and Jesmon GX are usually better. However, this card is more there, so then my deck is more rounded, so I don't have to play too many Oryuken Aces, too many Jesmon GXs. So then if I do try for the BT13 Omnimon WinCon, I don't have to trash Ace Digimon and then overflow 5 or 10. But yeah, this is basically an Ace Digimon with a different name than these two, so I can play more aces. But yeah, this is pretty nice to have. Now, these are all the Digimon in my deck, in my aggro build specifically, so I'm not playing any Omekamons. I have sacrificed a lot of defense for just pure aggression. I'm playing 4 copies of the Star Deck 15 Tai Kamiyas. So, Memory Setter. All turns when an attack target is switched by suspending this tamer, draw 1, and one of your Digimon gets plus 2,000 DP until the end of their turn. This card is just really nice for the deck. For example, your Magnamons have blocker, your Gankamons have blocker. If it does come up, your Omnimon Ace has raid. But really, this Omnimon X Antibody has blocker and raid. It is just so good. Especially in a mirror, or if you're playing against a deck with a 16,000 DP Digimon, whether it be another Royal Knights deck, or it's a Jesmon deck that runs GXs, or if it's a Chronicle deck that runs Alphamon or Ryukens. Basically, if you raid into something, suspend tie, you get to buff up your Omnimon X Antibody up to 18,000 DP. So even when you do Pierce and check security, you will be bigger than any Digimon so far. 18,000 DP, nothing can really kill it unless it's like an option out of security. But yeah, This basically just guarantees that your Omnimon X will live security checks. It's also nice against the mirror, and you can just still block like usual. Like if you have to chump block with Magnemon, you still can. Magnemon might still die, but at least you'll get the card draw. This is a really nice engine for drawing cards and also buffing up your Digimon. I'm playing 4 copies of Cool Boy. So let me explain about the Cool Boy. So at first, I just wanted a card that can give me a bunch of memory. So I was running the Mimi and Sora, or Sora and Mimi from BT6. The card that, if your opponent does not have a level 4 or lower Digimon, start of your turn, you will gain 2 memory. So it's like, oh, cool, my opponent will not have level 4 or lower Digimon. So basically, this is just free memory. If they have a level 4 or lower, they're just giving me a target for one of my many removal effects. If they do not have a level 4 or lower, I'm just getting free memory. So the issue with that was mainly that I would have a lot of memory. However, I would not have enough cards in hand to really utilize that memory. So, I needed more draw power as well. Cool Boy basically just gives me a memory when I play a Roll Knight, draws a card. So, it's not giving me 2 memory, but it is giving me that draw, which is really nice for the deck. So, your turn when your Digimon are played or Digivolve, if any of them have the Roll Knight trait, by suspending this tamer, draw 1 and gain 1 memory. Opponent's turn, once per turn, whenever your Digimon with the Roll Knight trait would leave the battle area, you may play one Omekimon from your hand without paying the cost. So pretty much, I play this out and then play a Roll Knight to gain a memory, draw a card. So I'm actually playing 4 copies of the Ty and Matt. I'm waiting for 2 copies in the mail. I actually borrowed 2 from a friend today at Locals, but this card is insane for the aggression. So, start of your turn. If your opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon in play, gain 2 memory. So, sometimes if you're playing against the mirror, this is just free memory, basically every turn. If you're not playing against the mirror, sometimes this comes up, like, you're not really playing this card for the memory gain. The your turn effect on this card is what makes this card really worth running. All of your Digimon with Omnimon and their names gain security attack +1, which just makes this deck extremely aggro, to the point where you can just like win very early, or you don't even need to rely on the BT13 Omnimon to bring your Royal Knights out and then attack several. You can just win mainly off of this Omnimon X, because even if you just play this out, you remove something, you get to attack, you'll get 2 checks off in that one turn. So basically, play this out, remove something, get 2 checks. Or if you play it out with Roll Knights of the Purge, you get to attack for 2 checks, end of turn, attack for 2 more checks. But yeah, this with Omnimon X, insane. But at the point where you do go for the BT13 Omnimon strategy, this also would hit for 2. This also would hit for 2, which is also another reason why I do actually like running Omnimon Ace in this build, because there's a lot of Omnimon synergy. Ty and Matt is one of those Omnimon synergies, but of course we have the options. So I'm playing 4 copies of Royal Knights of the Purge. So it has that main effect, draw 1, and then I can place a Digimon card from your hand as the Bomb Digivolution cards of one of your Kingdrasil in the breeding area, then place this card in the battle area. So this is pretty nice for ramping, and also tucking under Royal Knights that you want under Kingdrasil. I'll go over which Royal Knights I usually tuck once I talk about the strategy of this deck. Delay effect, play 1 Royal Knight trait card from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying the cost. On play effects on Digimon played by this effect don't activate and they gain Rush for the turn. Very nice card. I'm playing 4 copies of the Last Guardian. This card is just really nice for protecting your Omnimons. Main, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Cool Boy and 1 card with the Royal Knight or X antibody trait among them to the hand. Return the rest of the bottom of the deck, then place this card in the battle area. All turns when any of your Digimon with Omnimon and their names would leave the battle area delay, one of those Digimon doesn't leave. I forgot about the security effect. Royal Knights of the Purge will just place itself in the battle area. This security effect, you may play 1 Omekamon or Cool Boy from your hand or trash without paying the cost, then place this card in the battle area. So again, before when I was playing the Sora and Mimi, it was nice for memory gain, but it really lacked card draw. So I could have, like 7 memory, 9 memory, whatever. I would have a bunch of memory, but I wouldn't really have many things to go off of because, maybe with that 9 memory that turn, I would play out 2, maybe 3 Royal Knights. But, turn after that, what am I going to do now if there's not much card draw? So my hand would just be basically 2 or 3 cards in some games, if I'm not really lucky. So I took out the Sora and Mimi, replaced it with the Cool Boy. This also makes the Last Guardian better, because if it's hit in security, I can then play Cool Boy from hand or from trash. But yeah, this gives this card more value if I'm playing Cool Boys. And now, 4 copies of Lament of Friendship. Now this card, so I was thinking about running red scrambles in the deck, mainly just to get out Omnimon X Antibody, and there's so many red cards in this deck that I was like, oh, what if I just run the red scrambles so then I can retrieve Omnimon X, because that card is so good. But then, I was talking with my friend, he actually suggested Lament of Friendship to me. While you have a Tamer of Matt Ishida name, you may use this card without meeting the color requirements. He also suggested the Matt and the Ty and Matt to me. So we're just bouncing ideas off each other, but he suggested Ty and Matt and Lament of Friendship. But I think that this is really nice. So basically, if you have Ty and Matt out, you can ignore color requirements. You could also use this card if you have the Dynasmon out. In my earlier build, I ran Sora and Mimi also to use this card. But again, the Sora and Mimi just isn't as worth it as a Cool Boy in my opinion, because you kind of need the draw power more than you need the memory gain. But main effect, return 1 Digimon card from your trash to your hand. Then one of your Digimon with Garurumon in its name gains on deletion. Play this card without paying the cost until the end of your opponent's turn. Security effect, activate this card's main effect. So basically, this card is used to grab any Digimon card that you really need at any given point. But usually I just use it to grab Omnimon X because this card is just so good. But yeah, let's go over the general strategy of this deck. So Magnamon mainly for the ramping. So getting cards, sources under Kingdrasil means that on every subsequent turn, your Royal Knights will just be 1 cost less, which is pretty significant because basically over the course of maybe 3 or 4 turns, then, if you save that 1 memory each turn for 4 turns, you're basically saving 4 memory over the course of the game. But of course, you add more Magnamons under Kingdrasil, you add more Royal Knights under, and then that memory saving is actually compounded. So, for example, if you have 1 source under, then you're saving that 1 extra memory every subsequent time that you play a Royal Knight once per turn. But then if you have 2 Royal Knights under, then you're saving 2 memory for every subsequent time they're playing a Royal Knight in the game once per turn. But basically, you really want to ramp. This Magnamon will ramp under Kingdrasil. And it also leaves play. When it leaves play, you get to draw a card. Sometimes even if this comes in for free, I would just play this for 0, suspend Cool Boy, get a card draw, get a memory gain. So basically this, with the Cool Boy, when played for 0, will just give me 1 memory more. So if I have the Tai Kamiya memory setter that sets me to 3, I'm now at 4, and I can play out another Tai Kamiya memory setter, I can play another Cool Boy to really ramp up my sources for subsequent turns, or I can play out a Tai Kamiya and Matsushita, so then my Omnimons in name will get security attack +1. Dynasmon 10 cost, but you can really search for 2 Royal Knight cards. Everything in this deck is searchable except for the Tamers, and the Lament of Friendships. Those are the only cards in the deck that do not have the Royal Knight trait. So basically, these 12 Tamers and these 4 options, 16 cards, 34 cards are searchable with Dynasmon. You won't really whiff that much. I find that this is a pretty decent ratio for using Dynasmon. Like 34 cards with Royal Knight traits is pretty nice. You can go more or less depending on your liking, but in the games I've played with Dynasmon, I usually do not whiff. I usually grab 2 targets with it to hand. And of course, if you trash Cool Boy, and then later on your opponent hits into the Lost Guardian security, you can then replay that Cool Boy out to the field. Or, if you mill some Royal Knight cards and you're like, wow, I kind of want that card now, you can just grab a Lament of Friendship later. Omnimon mainly for the deletion, but you can also use this to play out your Royal Knights and then attack, usually when you see lethal. Omnimon X, just really, really insane. You get to remove something, you get to attack, you get to raid if you want, pierce over it. It is a really nice card. If it is already on the field, or if it is played with Royal Knights of the Purge, you basically get 2 attacks off of this. Pretty nice. Gonkomon, you can play out this Omnimon X for actually cheaper than it would cost if you just played this out from hand. Or you can play out usually one of these ace cards. So you can really give something minus 15,000 DP until the end of their turn. Delete one of their Digimon by placing a Royal Knight card from hand or trash under this Digimon, or just delete with no caveat. And this also has blocker. But yeah, there's usually with Gonkomon I play out Omnimon X or any of these Ace Digimon. And I just went over the Ace Digimon, so I won't go over them again. Taikamiya, really good for the mirror matches. Pretty good, even if you just chump block something. If your opponent is attacking you for 13,000 DP Digimon, you have this Magmon in play. You're like, well, I don't really need the ramping at this point. I kind of want the card draw. You can just chump block with the Magmon, save your security from getting hit, and then get that card draw. This can also block. This can also block. This can also block. So you have a considerable amount of cards in the deck that can block, and also this can raid. This can raid. So this Takamiya does come up a lot, especially if your opponent is also running blockers. Then you can also use this when they block to draw a card and buff up a Digimon. This will just give you a memory and a card draw when you play a Royal Knight, which seems kind of slow for some decks, but in this deck, you kind of want to go slow. I will go over that more in a bit. This is just really nice. So then, even if just one on the field, and then you just play this from hand or with Gonkomon, you still get to remove something and then get 2 checks in on that turn. If you instead Royal Knights of the Purge, tucking Omnimon X under, then on a different turn you play it out, you get to attack for 2 checks, end of turn attack for 2 more checks. So it is very, very aggressive. This card is really nice. Royal Knights of the Purge. So the targets I usually tuck under really depend on what I currently have under my Kingdrasil. So for example, if there's not much going on, I would usually tuck Omnimon X Antibody under Kingdrasil. There's so much search going on in this deck that I will usually have several Omnimon X's through the course of the game. So I can just, tuck one under. If I need to hard play one, I still can, because I probably have 1 in hand, maybe 2 in hand, or I will draw into them soon. But I usually just tuck this under if I have nothing better to do. Then I can just play it out with Gonkomon later, or I can just roll Knights of the Purge out later for that aggression. Alphamon or Yuken, this is now time for the combo that I alluded to before. So, all turns, once per turn when a security stack is removed from, gain 3 memory. So, if you have Alphamon or Yuken under Kingdrasil, you have Omnimon X Antibody under Kingdrasil, what you can do, let's say that you're at 3 memory, then you would need 7 sources under Kingdrasil to retain turn, right? Because this is play cost 14. So you have the King Still and then 7 sources under, so you can reduce by 11. So this would be 3 cost with 7 sources under King Still. So if you have the memory setter, you can play this for 3, retain turn. Now, what's actually really nice about this Oryuken Ace is that you don't really need that 3 memory. So instead of needing 7 sources under, you could just have the Omnimon X. You could just have the Oryuken Ace under it. So with the Kingerstills, that's only 5 sources under. So what you can do, play Omnimon out, play out the Oryuken Ace, play out the Omnimon X, bounce something to bottom deck, give something minus 15,000 DP. End of turn, give, probably this one rush, and it may attack without suspending. So you attack, pierce over something if you need to, or, raid over something, but you're going to most likely get security through. Because a security is then removed, you then gain 3 memory. So instead of needing 7 sources under Kingdrasil, you realistically just need 4 sources, but technically it will be the 5, because the 3 other Kingdrasils and this and this. So you can basically make do with just having these 2. And so you can Omnimon, bring these 2 out, attack without suspending, hopefully for 2 checks, right? Gain 3 memory back, attack by suspending for 2 more checks, attack for 2 checks, and then attack for game. So this is actually pretty nice. You can still OTK them, literally, with just these 3 cards, and a mat and a tie-in mat in play. You can get those 6 checks in, and then an extra swing for game with just these cards, which is insane. But that is the combo. The combo also works if you run BT20 Jesmon, because that Jesmon will make a token, and then when another Digimon is played, it will attempt to delete something 8,000 DP or less, and then one of your Digimon may attack. So you can choose any Digimon, so just in case you don't have the Omnimon X in a different build that you are running Jesmon. So you can give any of your Digimon the ability to attack. They attack, security is removed, you gain 3 memory back, and then you can retain turn. So the Omnimon X or the Jesmon will allow you to attack even though memory has passed, and then you will still gain 3 memory when a security is removed. So this is just a really, really nice interaction for you. There was something else. Let's go in order now. The tie, I already went over the tie. The Cool Boy, I think that I went over. Oh yeah, going slow. So in this deck, I am playing very aggressively, but also at the same time, I want to have decent removal for several different things at basically any given moment, right? So I have the Alphamon Oryuken Aces for things that can't really be affected by effects until the end of a given turn. So this will help against Chronicle, this will help against Scalamon X, this will help against Magnemon X. Pretty, really awesome card for just bypassing protection, because it will last until the end of their turn. Jesmon GX, delete something 16,000 DP or more, or less, I mean, is pretty good. Deleting anything basically without caveat is also really nice. Bouncing something is really nice too. Board wiping level 4 or under, and level 4 and under is nice. Deleting something, so there's basically so much removal in this deck. So there's a lot of cards in this deck that will interact with my opponent's board. The cards that I don't really need to rely on for interacting with my opponent's board. So I can use Magnemon to just ramp, or if it is removed, I'll draw a card, or I can just use it to set up a blocker. This will just give me card search anyways. This I can just hard play even if my opponent has nothing, so that I can just get attacks in. But yeah, Gonkomon, Alphamon Oryuken, Jesmon GX, Omnimon Ace. Omnimon, they kind of depend on the board state to really have full potential. So the plan that I use to play this deck is I go really, really slow, which kind of seems like an oxymoron because this is an aggressive build, but I'm going slow when I'm playing this. So, for example, um, if I am going first and I have this Magmon in hand, I will play this Magmon so that I can put my opponent to 2. It's still really nice because I will still get that card draw later, and I can reduce costs for subsequent turns once per turn by 1. But let's say, for example, I have not much stuff in my hand, right? Let's say that in my opening hand, I have a Magnemon, I have Alphamon or Yuken, I have a Tai, I have a Cool Boy, and I have Omnimon. Let's say this is my opening hand. So obviously, if I play out this Oryuken opening, this would just be useless because it does nothing. Same thing for this, it would just do nothing, so I would not play these two when I'm starting out. My real options here are Cool Boy, Taikamiya, and Magmon. All of these are fantastic cards to use on your turn 1. So if you think about it, I would realistically play... I kind of want to go with the Cool Boy in this scenario. So I would play the Cool Boy because I don't really have much card draw in this hand, right? Even if, let's say that I do play the Magmon, and then next turn I draw a card, I draw 1 from this living play, there's still not much for me to do. I could play the Magmon going first, but if I play this Cool Boy, I can then get memory and then card draw when I play the Magmon next turn. So if you kind of see, wow, this is not a really great hand, you kind of decide if you want to Cool Boy first or not. So then your next turn, you get an extra memory reduction as if, you did place a Royal Knight under King Crystal. So this is basically you tucking a Digimon under King Crystal. So instead of reducing by 1, you gain 1. This is basically the same thing as tucking it under, but this will enable you to get more card draws. You can also play a Taikamiya if you want to, so you can set yourself to 3. However, I think that the best play, turn 1, would either be Magnemon or Cool Boy. You could, let's imagine a scenario where you go second, and then your opponent has a level 3 in the back. They have a memory setter out, so they have 4 memory, a level 3 in raising. Or you have 4 memory, and they have level 3 in raising. So I would realistically play out Taikamiya, and then I would play out Magnemon for 2. So it would be 2 on their side, they'll go to 3. But you do have that Taikamiya, so then you'll be set to 3. And then when this leaves play, you draw a card, you draw for turn, as normal. But yeah, you will be back to 5 cards with 3. Hopefully you have a Dynaspawn they can play, or if they bring something out, then you can interact with their Digimon with your, or you can Ace, for example, and then after that you will play out the Cool Boy. If you have like Royal Knights of the Purge or the Lost Guardian, you can also use them as you're setting up. So then you are not really wasting a turn. You're still setting up your board. So it's not really intuitive, but it is really nice that you can play it really slow so you can set up your board. So then eventually, when you do play out Royal Knights, you can draw a bunch of cards so you can get the answers that you are looking for. The draw power is also really nice because this card is not searchable. So if you draw, then you will have a pretty good chance of getting Tai and Matt in your hand. But yeah, go slow at the beginning. Set up what you can. So whether it be ramping or, playing out your tamers or your options, this is just a pretty nice way for you to build up your board, even if there's nothing really to interact with. Because, a lot of this deck will interact with stuff. But if there's nothing to really interact with, at least you can still do something and still build up. um, Roll Knights of the Purge. So the targets I usually put under are going to be Omnimon X Antibody, or Alphamon or Yuken, or Jasmine GX. Sometimes this Omnimon. But these are the 4 cards I mainly put under, and I will explain why. So Omnimon X Antibody, if I put under, I can just bring it out on a future turn, and then attack, and then attack. Technically, if you already have one of these in play, and then you use a second copy to tuck under, any Digimon, so for example, Omnimon X, you can pop the one that was already in play, and then bring it out, even if you just tucked it under that turn. So that is also a really nice reason why you want to set up your options early. So then you can do something like that, right? So if early turns you don't really have much to do, you can still play an option. Tuck any Digimon that you want under King Crystal. On a future turn, you can still roll out the Purge, for example, tuck this under and then bring it out right away. You get to raid over something to remove it. End of turn, raid over something again to remove it is pretty good. This thing also has when attacking to delete something. This is nice because of the combo with the Omnimon, Omnimon X, and Alphamon or Yuken Ace. So this will help you to retain memory to continue turn. This, putting it under King Crystal, so then you can BT13 Omnimon to play out the BT13 Omnimon under King Crystal will give you an extra deletion. But yeah, these are the targets that I usually put under King Crystal. So basically, this one for aggression, or for BT13 to bring it out to remove an extra thing, or for Gankamon to bring out to remove an extra thing. Alphamon or you can mainly for stealing memory. Jasmine GX, if, for example, I don't see the BT13 Omnimon, or if I do not have enough memory to retain, to end the game, what I can do, if I have like even 1 or 2 of these Royal Knights of the Purge out, I can pop this, play Jasmine GX, when attacking, tuck a Digimon under, tuck a Royal Knight card under, to delete something. So you still get that when attacking, even if you just bring it out with Royal Knights of Purge, because it does not need to be played for that effect. And then when attacking, unsuspend this Digimon, and then attack again. So this is a double attacker. This is basically a double attacker. But yeah, there's a lot of things they can play with Royal Knights of the Purge, but usually Omnimon X, or you can Jasmine GX, Omnimon are the best cards that you want to tuck under. Of course, if you just have like this Magnamon, or if you have this Dynasmon, you can still tuck them under. Especially if you want to save them for their on plays, you still can. For like Jasmine GX, Alphamon, or you can Omnimon X, BT13 Omnimon, you can basically tuck whatever you need to in that moment. But I usually tuck Omnimon X for aggression. The others depending on the board state. The Last Guardian is really nice. I like to play this a lot. So for example, if I need to search for a removal piece, because I'm like, oh wow, my opponent has this Digimon and I need some removal. Maybe it's unaffected by card effects, so I kind of want that, or you can. I can play The Last Guardian, search top 3. Hopefully I can find it. If I cannot find it, then maybe I have like a Dynaspawn, so I can then play that Dynaspawn, search next top 4. Hopefully I find it then. But this is just a really nice digging piece for you to find whatever you need. So for example, if I need removal, I will hopefully find one of my many removal pieces for the deck. But at the very least, this will just still give Omnimon in name protection from leaving play. So that includes Omnimon X, Omnimon Ace, and BT13 Omnimon. So this is just really nice. Limit of Friendship, again, you can bring back basically any Digimon that you need. So if you have an Oryuken Ace in trash, maybe your opponent attacks security and now it's in trash. Or maybe you just played it earlier and then they got rid of it and it's in trash. So you can play Limit of Friendship, bring back Oryuken Ace, play that Oryuken Ace, give something minus 15,000 DP. It just bypasses most protection effects. You can bring back Omnimon X in the case that you want to bounce something, so you can avoid on deletions that way. Bounce something to bottom deck, attack. So, you know, this is just a really nice way to bring that back too. But yeah, this is the deck. It is pretty aggressive. It is very aggressive. So things that I would consider to upgrade this deck later on. So there's not too much of an issue with floodgates right now. So there are ways to get around floodgates. You just need to know what to do. So if it is a play by effect floodgate, that is okay. Because you don't really need to play by effects most of the time. That will disable your Gankamon for a turn, basically. That will disable Omnimon from playing your Royal Knights out. That will disable Royal Knights of the Purge. But that's basically it. Those are the only 3 cards in this deck that will play by effect. Gankamon, Omnimon BT13, and Royal Knights of the Purge. If it's a play by effect floodgate, you can just, you know, build like normal. So you can play out Alphamon or Yuken Ace, remove it. Jesmon GX Ace, remove it. Omnimon Ace, remove it. Omnimon X, remove it. Omnimon, remove it. Dynasmon, and then a different Royal Knight to remove it. But yeah, that is super easy to remove. If it is a play cost reduction preventing Digimon, that is trickier to remove, but it can also work. So if you recall, this build, you kind of want to use your options every turn or as often as you can, basically. So you can just, you know, maybe hopefully you have a Royal Knights of the Purge already in the battle area, and then your opponent plays out a players cannot reduce play costs Digimon. So then you play out a separate Royal Knights of the Purge, tuck under Jesmon GX, or tuck under Omnimon X Antibody. Either of these cards can work. So, Dynasmon technically also works too. So let's say that you have any of these 3 cards and you want to tuck them under. So let's say that you pop the Royal Knights of the Purge that was already in play, bring out Jesmon GX, attack, tuck any Royal Knight card under it, even the Royal Knights of the Purge that you just popped, to delete the floodgate. It will then unsuspend, attack again, so floodgate easily removed. Or bring this out, raid over the floodgate, and then, you know, hopefully floodgate is easily removed. So this is not guaranteed, especially if they have several unsuspended Digimon, but it's not too likely that they will, so you will most likely still be able to raid over the floodgate. Or you can get really fancy here. You can play out the Dynasmon and then play out a different Royal Knight to delete their level 4 and under. This is probably the most expensive way to do it. You'll likely give them a lot of memory. Maybe if you are at 3, because they were Takamiya, let's say that there's no cool boy. Let's say that you just have the Takamiya, you're at 3 memory. You bring out Dynasmon, you play out Magnamon for 7. This will put them to 4. So they will start their turn at 4, but you at least get to remove their low 4 and under. And then once this leaves play, you will still get that card draw, or at the very least you get to chump block with this and also get the card draw. But yeah, there are ways for you to remove floodgates in this deck. I'm not playing Marcus Damon currently because I don't find that there is a need to play Marcus Damon to remove floodgates, because there are several ways. If you are able to interact with them, then you can just remove the floodgate. So you don't really need Marcus Damon in this build. But yeah, I would say that this deck is pretty aggressive. Especially if you even just play this out, attack for 2 because of the tie and mat. Or you can Royal Knights of the Purge, attack, end of turn, attack plus the Spang, so for 4. You don't even need Crimson Mode Ace. I was playing Crimson Mode Ace in an earlier build. Um, so the goal of that was that once you have Omnimon X antibody on the field, you can just hard play the Crimson Mode Ace from hand. End of turn, give Crimson Mode Ace the ability to attack without suspending and also rush. So then it can attack right away and then just trash security, hit for lethal. So if there's 20 or more cards, it will trash 2. If there's 30 or more, it will trash 3 and then hit for lethal. Even if it's like only 10, you can still trash 10 and then hit for lethal. So that is, a nice tech. However, I don't think that's really necessary in this particular build because you are playing the tie and mats. So you can very, very easily get 2 checks at this or maybe 4 checks at this with Royal Knights of the Purge. But yeah, you are very, very aggro with this build. You don't really need Crimson Mode Ace. I would much rather have more searchable Royal Knights in this deck. There's a lot of searching going on. This will retrieve your Royal Knights. This will search. This will put whatever Royal Knight you need under Kingdrasil. Whether to play by this, play by Gankamon, play by BT13 Omnimon, or just to get the extra ramp. This security attack +1, very nice. Could also give you 2 memory, but the security attack is what really makes this card nice. This gives you the quote-unquote ramp. So you still reduce costs of a Royal Knight once per turn by 1. Or, technically it's even better because you gain 1 memory. So even if you play something for 0, you'd still gain 1 memory back, and you also draw a card. Very nice for the deck. Omegamon's not really needed, though you could run Omegamons if you want to be safer. This is just really nice for the card draw as well, and also safely checking into security or swinging over something. But yeah, thank you for watching. This is my BT20 aggressive Royal Knights build. It is pretty nice. So let me think. If you do want to play Omegamon, here is my suggestion to you. I would say that you kind of want the tie and mat for that aggressiveness. Even if you just get the 1 out, it is really nice. You kind of want to run 4 of them, so you do see 1 during the course of the game. Cool Boy, I also would keep at 4. I would not touch the Takamiyas. Maybe if you really wanted to, but I probably would not touch them. The cards that I would cut out for a Mechamon, I would consider cutting out maybe 2 Lament of Friendships and 2 Omnimon Ace, or I would cut out all of the Lament of Friendships. If you want to play slightly more defensively, so of course, if you cut them out, you would sacrifice some aggression, so they can get the Omegamon. So if you do run the new Omegamon, that will let you to save game when you're about to lose, which is pretty nice. It can just delete your opponent's Digimon until they have 1 remaining and then bounce their Digimon to the bottom of their deck. So that could help you. But if you do want to play aggressively, I would keep these. If you don't want to play aggressively, you want to be a little bit more defensive, I would replace maybe 2 Lament of Friendships and 2 Omnimon Aces for the 4 Omegamons, or I would replace 4 of the Lament of Friendships for the 4 Omegamons. You could also change other things in the deck, but I think that these would be top consideration to be replaced should you want to play Omegamon. Also, I didn't mention this before, but again, I do like the Taikamiya because it can buff up your Omnimon X so that it can win against a mirror, or it can, live more easily through security checks. 18,000 DP, nothing can really kill it. But in the upcoming starter decks, we're going to have some DP buff cards in security. So I would consider removing, some cards, so then you can run the Genai's house. So then all of your level 3 or higher Digimon get plus 3,000 DP during your turn, I believe. Or I believe it's Island of Paradise or something similar, where during all turns, your Digimon level 3 or higher get plus 2,000 DP. That will really help Omnimon X to basically never die when hitting security, unless it's like a removal option. But yeah, that is a card that I would really consider. Um, yeah, that is what I would upgrade in the future if I wanted, that extra small little DP boost. That can also help with the Jesmon GX technically, because you can delete Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. So if this is, buffed 3,000 or buffed 2,000 or buffed 5,000, if you have both of those options, they can delete, something 21,000 DP or less, which is pretty awesome. The top security, which is, I believe, Island of Paradise or Paradise Island. I don't remember the exact name, but if that is removed and it is your top security, so it is, the first to be checked. So if that card is checked, you get to play a Tamer from your hand, and surprise, surprise, this deck runs 12 Tamers. So it is very, very nice for this deck. You still get the DP buff. If they remove it, you get a free Tamer. So basically that option costs 2. You get to play a 4-cost Tamer. So you are saving memory. You're also benefiting from it while it is in play. So that is just a really nice upgrade for the deck. But yeah, if I were to change something, I would consider replacing Lament Friendship, Omnimon Ace, possibly these other cards, though I really like them, so I'm keeping them. I don't want to change them. But if I were to replace these 6, I could put in the BT20 Omecamons or the upcoming starter deck options that will buff up your Digimon. Yeah, thank you for watching this deck profile video. It is a really fun deck. Hopefully I have explained the combos pretty well, and now you understand how to use this deck. It is very, very easy to pilot, because basically you're like, oh, I need to remove something. How do I remove something? Do I delete it? Do I give it minus 15,000 DP until end of their turn? Do I go for the aggression? Do I also remove something? It is just really easy to know what you need to remove and then play around it. I find that Royal Knights is easy to play. The hardest part really is just the deck construction, but once you have a pretty nice deck list, then you are all set. Hopefully you all give this a try. It is such a fun deck, and this is probably one of my favorite Royal Knight builds right now. Like the Megazoo Aggro. Oh, the Megazoo Rush. It is just so fun. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.